Just as a well-filled day brings blessed sleep, so a well-employed life brings blessed death. The Daily Laws entry for the day is titled, "Let a Sense of Purpose Guide You," and it reads as such. What we lack most in the modern world is a sense of larger purpose to our lives. In the past, it was organized religion that often supplied this, but most of us now live in a secularized world. We human animals are unique. We must build our own world. We do not simply react to events out of biological scripting. But without a sense of direction provided to us, we tend to flounder. We don't know how to fill up and structure our time. There seems to be no defining purpose to our lives. We are perhaps not conscious of this emptiness, but it infects us in all kinds of ways. Feeling that we are called to accomplish something is the most positive way for us to supply this sense of purpose and direction. It is a religious-like quest for each of us. This quest should not be seen as selfish or antisocial. It is, in fact, connected to something much larger than our individual lives. Our evolution as a species has depended on the creation of a tremendous diversity of skills and ways of thinking. One of the ways that I like to think about that last part there, that indulging in your quest is not actually a selfish thing, is this: you want to be able to help those people in your life that mean something to you. You want to be able to uh, provide. You want to be able to support all of these things. The best way to do that is to become the most formidable version of yourself that you can possibly be. The most formidable version of yourself that you can possibly be has something to do with confidence, has something to do with competence, has something to do probably with financial worth, and many of our purposes in life end up coming back to what we do for a living. And if you are able to make money in more ways than one, so this is something that is often, in my opinion, perverted in the vernacular, perverted in the common way of talking about these things, is that money is the root of all evil, if we are allowed to use cliche, that money is just something, right? That money is not the point of life. No, money is not the point or purpose of life, but money represents something. Money represents a distilled version of labor. So if you were able to make money on what your life's work is, it is basically just a token saying that others appreciate the work that you were doing. It is distilled labor. That is why something like making a product, like a book, Robert Greene here has written this book. Many people are simply saying, we appreciate your work by buying it. And say he spent 1,000 hours writing this book and he sold 10 million copies, whatever it is, 10 million times $20 for the book. That is what people have said his work is worth. Money is distillation of labor. So that is one thing worth talking about in here. But another thing, I'm trying to use this series to sort of soul bear here on the channel. I do struggle with this. I'm someone who has many creative outlets. I write, I do this YouTube channel, I do Strip Cover Lit, I do work a couple other places online. But when I work a 40-hour-a-week job, but when I go on vacation from my 40-hour-a-week job, I do not fill every available hour with this work like I should. I am able to bit and piece a productive chunks of my day after my 40-hour-a-week job when I am working. But when I go on vacation, I go off the rails very quickly. When it's my Friday, I go off the rails very quickly. When it is my weekend, I go off the rails very quickly, and I'm not as productive as probably I should be. I am not as productive as I could be, and if I were as productive as I could be light years ahead in all of my creative work, which I consider to be my calling, which I consider to be my purpose, which I consider to be my mission in life. And sort of the third thing that I think is a talking point that springs up from this entry in the Daily Law by Robert Greene is this. He talks about setting up structure in your purpose area of life. And part of that, I think, in my opinion, comes down to setting goals, right? You have this thing you want to do. Pretend it's writing a book. If you just say, I want to write a book, you're never going to get there. If you say, I want to write a 60,000 word novel, you're more likely to get there. If you say, however, I want to write a novel and I'm going to write 500 words a day until I get it done, you are infinitely more likely to get that book written. But what happens along the way is sometimes we set up these goals and it will be something, for example, I want to write that book. 500 words a day is a great way to get there. But I don't feel as if I am properly ensconced into the genre of literature that it is that I want to write. So I want to say I want to write a noir novel. I will pick out 10 noir novels that have critical acclaim and audience acclaim and have withstood the test of time. And I say, okay, this will supplement my writing. I will read these 10 novels while I'm writing my novel. Well, those 10 novels aren't your novel. It might help. Probably it will. Almost definitely. It will make you a better writer to have read those. But not reading those will not stop you from writing your novel. And what we will do is set up these tertiary goals along the way. Things like, okay, well, I have to write my 500 words today, and I have to read one chapter of a novel. And we will get these things flipped, the priority flipped, and we won't start writing until we've read. And there are all sorts of different goals like this, things that we will do in this way. With fitness, I want to lose 20 pounds. I think the best way to lose 20 pounds is to work out and to eat right. So the day comes and I don't have my proper shoes. I have tennis shoes, but I don't have my running shoes. I will let the not having the running shoes ruin whether or not I run. Right? That is a supplement to the goal, not the goal. And you let those little things knock you off. So those are pitfalls that we often come across. And there is an entry in the Daily Stoic. It is phenomenal how closely the Daily Laws kind of overlaps with the Daily Stoic. And I think that is by design, actually, because I don't know if you knew this, but Ryan Holiday was kind of a helping hand for Robert Greene through several of his books, from what I understand. And then Ryan Holiday went off and wrote the Daily Stoic, blew up for him, was massive for him, and ended up being something that Robert Greene wanted to emulate, and so he wrote the Daily Laws. But January 17th of the Daily Stoic is Reboot the Real Work. And the entry from Ryan Holiday himself is this: do you remember in school or early in life being afraid to try something because you feared you might fail at it? Most teenagers choose to fool around rather than to exert themselves. Half-hearted, lazy effort gives them a ready-made excuse. It doesn't matter. I wasn't even trying. As we get older, failure is not so inconsequential anymore. What's at stake is not some arbitrary grade or intramural sports trophy, but the quality of your life and your ability to deal with the world around you. Don't let that intimidate you, though. You have the best teachers in the world, the wisest philosophers who ever lived. And not only are you capable, the professor is asking you for something very simple. Just begin the work, the rest follows. When executing purpose, reassess the effectiveness of your daily practices. I think that is something very important to go by. It is important to set those goals. It is important to set those tertiary goals. You set the monthly goal, and then you break it down into weekly, and then you break it down into daily. And at the end of every week or month or whatever, I think it's important to reassess those smaller goals. Are those the things that are actually propelling you towards the end state in mind?